Not so fast, you home sellers. Did you think that you were going to make it through the transaction and not have to pay any closing costs? Well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but unfortunately, closing costs do exist for sellers as well as buyers. I think a common mistake that a lot of homeowners make is to think that the price we agree on in the offer period is the amount that you'll walk away with at the closing table. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. The trick is to get an estimate of just what those costs will be ahead of time so that you're in a better position to negotiate with the buyer. So, just what are those closing costs that a seller is responsible for? Well, we're going to talk about that right now. What's up, you guys? I'm Annemarie LaTulip with eXp Realty out here in Billerica, Massachusetts, which I'm sure you know by now is a small suburb north of Boston. So first, what are closing costs? Closing costs are fees that must be paid at the time of closing, the official point where ownership changes hands. It's important to understand that it's very difficult to determine the precise amount that you will owe for closing costs, but once we have an idea of the details of the sale, then you'll have a much better idea of what to expect. Another thing to note is that closing costs will vary from state to state. So for this video, we're going to talk about Massachusetts because, well, that's where I am. So just what are the 5 major fees that a seller is responsible for at closing? Well, number 1 will be your real estate agent's commission. Now that will range between 4 and 6% generally, depending on the agent you choose. Now, of course, you could decide to go with a discount brokerage for a lower amount, or you could decide to sell on your own, which in that case, obviously, that fee would be eliminated. Number 2 is your attorney fee. Now, not every seller will use an attorney. However, I always advise my clients to use an attorney, but that fee, again, will vary on what services you want them to provide for you. But let's say a general estimate of an attorney fee would be between somewhere between $800 and maybe $1,000. Okay, now that's just an estimate, like I said. Number 3 is your state excise tax stamps here in Massachusetts. I'm sure that you've heard Massachusetts referred to as Taxachusetts, right? Well, on every sale of every home in the state of Massachusetts, there are what's called tax stamps. Tax stamps are $4.56 per every $1,000 of your sale price. And that fee is always, unless negotiated otherwise, which is very rare, but it's always paid by the seller. Now, the last 2 will vary depending on your particular property. First is a septic inspection. Is your home being serviced by a septic system? If so, you're going to need to get that septic system inspected prior to sale. That's called a Title V inspection. That inspection will generally run between probably $700, $800, somewhere around there. And we need that certificate in order to close. So that's a very important fee that you must know about. Also, if there are any repairs needed as a result of the inspection, unfortunately, you, the seller, would be responsible for those too. The other fee that will vary depending on your property is if you are selling a condo. If you're selling a condo, you'll need to obtain a 6D certificate. A 6D certificate is needed to close. And what it is a document indicating that there are no outstanding monies owed to the condo association for either dues or special assessments. And the last fee that everybody is responsible for, now I pay for this for all of my clients, but not every real estate agent will, and that is for your smoke inspection. So for every sale, we must have a clean smoke certificate indicating that your smoke detectors and your carbon monoxide detectors are in place and functioning properly. So those are the major fees associated with selling a house. There are some small other fees that might come into play, maybe overnighting some documents or obtaining a discharge on your mortgage, but the ones I mentioned are really the ones that you need to focus on as a seller. So I hope you found this helpful. As always, if you like my videos, go ahead and click on that little red subscribe button. I'm Annemarie LaTulip with eXp Realty, and I'll see you on my next video.